My name is Angela Booker, and I am a member of Sheriff Pinzone's African American Advisory Council. I've probably been on the council about, 3 to 4 years.
My name is Roy Tatum, and I am the immediate past chair of Sheriff Pinzone's African American Advisory Board. From what I understand, this is the first board of its nature in the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, and I have been on the advisory board since 2017.
Our heritage is basically, it's centered around our pride, our culture, our food, our music. It's all of those things. But the one thing that I could say, Dr. Maya Angelou, who is a renowned African American poet, said it best in one of her latest poems before she passed away, and it's called Still I Rise. So our history and our culture centers around us rising from adversity. As most people know, we came here as slaves, in chains, and afraid, not knowing what was going to happen to us. But even through that, we were able to rise to the top. We were able to become president. We were able to sit on the Supreme Court. Thurgood Marshall was the first African American to sit on the Supreme Court, and he actually argued the case that got us our voting rights, that got us basically set free. So Still I Rise means so much in my culture because it's about coming from a place that no one thought we would ever achieve the greatness that we have. So everything we do centers around our faith, because it was our faith that got us out of the cotton fields into the White House. It was our faith that got us on the Supreme Court. It was our faith that did the simple things like having a family, owning a home, being able to work at a government job or some corporation. So it was the faith. And of course, the food. I gotta tell you about our food. One of the things that's my favorite, greens. And I know you guys hear the famous thing about fried chicken. So it's our food, because when we get together, we eat, we love on each other, we encourage each other to go through to the next day. So it's all about that. And of course, it's our dance. We are a dancing set of people. We love to dance, even when it started in church, and then just at family reunions, dancing at weddings. So all those things help us rise to the top. As Dr. Maya Angelou would say, it's all of those things. Another thing about our faith, I have to just kind of, I'm very happy and prideful about, is that we share it. We don't just say, oh, it's an African American thing. We say, anybody who's ready to go with us, come on in the family. And, you'll see us marching for other cultures, making sure that they have the opportunity to grow in this wonderful land. So it's all about our faith, it's all about our food, but most of all, it's all about the fact, still we rise no matter what happens to us.
I mean, it's everything. It's how I grew up, it's how I show up in society, it's my family, it's responsibility, it's it's woven into the fabric of America. And there are a lot of it many people don't know, but once you learn the true contributions of Africans in America and African Americans, you take a great pride in our history and our contribution to society in general.
Since being on the African American Advisory Board, one of the things that I think that has changed between us and the Sheriff's Office as far as enhancing, or I guess having a better relationship, is just the change. Just having Sheriff Pinzone is one important thing. That change from one administration to another was huge. The second part of it is just not only Sheriff Pinzone, but I think the fact that he listens. He has an open door policy. We can go in and talk to him and express how we feel about things. And there's a big difference in between hearing a person because hearing means that I use my ears, but I didn't do anything else. But it also has to do with the fact that he hears us and he actually takes action. So we can go in his office and tell him something and he's like, okay, what can we do to solve it?
From my perspective, I would say there is still, in 2022, some levels of distrust and discomfort in the African American community with law enforcement. And it won't be changed overnight. It won't be changed overnight. However, I do believe that we've seen a significant amount of progress in the immediate administration of Sheriff Pinzon with things such as the removal of Tent City, some of the internal procedures, and making sure that there's a diverse group of people advising him on the average everyday events going on in the community. I'll tell a quick story of we went to, and this is just a testament of that. Going into a barbershop with Sheriff Pinzon, he couldn't even get into the door as there was a woman who greeted him at the door and hugged him and held on to him, and I mean just genuinely appreciative of his role as a sheriff and his leadership. And I guess because his predecessor was not as well liked by our community, it was easy for him to just get that love. And so, but it was amazing. I think he was surprised by the amount of love that he got just in the community. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't like we promoted it that Sheriff Pinzon was coming to the barbershop, but we walked up, and he was greeted with hugs, and people wanted to take selfies and take pictures with him. So I think the African American community has warmly received Sheriff Pinzon, and they appreciate his leadership.
One of the other things I can think of is House Bill 2650, and that's something new that has just happened, and that's where in a deadly police shooting, the sheriff listened to us complain about that. He went and met with all the other sheriffs, and they decided to create this task force, or it's a separate entity that'll look at deadly shootings. And so that's huge in our community. So I can say those are some of the great things that I've seen change since I've become a member. I think we need to reimagine how we police, and that's one of my wishes, hopes, and dreams, is that if someone's in a mental crisis, that we don't send out 100 officers with their guns drawn, that we send out officers, but we send out a social worker who could perhaps talk that person down, who could help them and see they're in a crisis. But mostly I'm looking for creating healthy relationships. I hope that we can do that.
I think it's important to engage all of the community. I mean, you got a broad community, but you got to engage young people. You got to engage those that middle class community. You got to engage the seniors, and just as we as a culture, a lot of times we learn from our elders. We could also learn from our children. And so I think it's important that we listen all the way around to understand where everyone is coming from. We shouldn't have a situation where they're just big I's and little U's.